Hi friends, welcome to another video of a financial service. The video in which we are going to discuss about a new topic, that is housing finance. Here in this video we are discussing concept of housing finance. What are the different types of housing finance situation? So what are the agencies that they are providing financial assistance for housing finance? And there will be a brief discussions regarding there will be some changes 2020 in housing finance situation as per the guidelines of Reserve Bank of India. All these things will be there in this particular video discussion. Let us see what is housing finance. Housing finance refers to finance that is provided to individuals or group of individuals, including cooperative societies, for purchase or build house, or there will be more than one houses. It is a financial assistance provided to a particular individual or a group of individuals and cooperative societies for the purchase of a house or building of a house or a group of houses. The financial assistance will be like this. The term housing finance or a home loan means finance for buying or modifying a property. There will be financial assistance for buying a property or modifying a property. Housing finance company means a company incorporated under the Companies Act 1956, which primarily transact or has one of its principal object. The transacting of the business is providing finance for housing, whether directly or indirectly. Then housing finance offers different types of home loan products such as plot loan, rural housing loan, home improvement loan and home extension loan, among others. The interest rate of housing loan varies from institutions to institutions, depends upon the situations. The home loan schemes are available for salaried and self-employed residents Indians in the range of between 18 to 65. The types of housing finance schemes are in the form of home loans, home extension loans, home improvement loans and land loans. In addition to that, there will be some other types of loans like NRI loans, home equity loans, short-term bridging loans, converting high interest housing loan to low interest housing loan situation. This is like what is takeovering of housing loan from one institution to another institution. Eligibility criteria for housing finance. An individual who is planning to buy a house in India can apply for home loan whether he is a resident or non-resident individual. An individual can apply for loan even before the selection of the property in which he is to be purchased. That is another option that we are giving. And once the individual decides the maximum amount that he can put into the property, all the housing finance institution can help to plan his budget by calculating his affordability, which is based on his individual or clubbed income. All co-owners to the property need to be the co-applicants to the loan necessarily, but any minor cannot be co-applicant, as he is not eligible to enter into contract as per the Contract Act. HFI do not permit friends or relatives who are not blood relatives to take property jointly. Income of co-applicants as decided by HFIs can be clubbed together to get higher loan eligibility. General terms and conditions of housing finance. General terms and conditions applicable to basic house loan product only. These are like to change with respect to different types of housing loans, and the loan to the value ratio cannot exceed a particular percentage. This differs from product to product and from one HFI to another HFI. The maximum tenure of loan is normally fixed by HFIs, and installment that the applicant pay is normally restricted to about 40% of his monthly gross income. This is known as installment to income ratio, IIR. So IIR is actually it is fixed up to 40% of a monthly gross income of that particular applicant. So this ratio is called the installment to income ratio. The total monthly outflow towards all the loans that the applicant has availed of, including current loan, is normally restricted to 50% of applicants' monthly gross income. This is another one. The total monthly outflow towards all the loan applicants has availed of, including current loan, is normally restricted to 50% of applicants' monthly gross income. This is known as fixed obligation to income ratio, or FIOR. So this concept is called FIOR, that is called a fixed obligation to income ratio. An applicant will eligible for a loan amount which he is lowest as per his eligibility. This is calculated as per three important norms, that is LTV norms, IIR norms and FIOR norms. LTT means loan to value, is often used ratio in mortgage lending to determine the amount necessary to put in down payment, whether the lender will extend credit to a borrower. So this is called LTV, or loan to value. IIR stands for installment to income ratio. This is a ratio of installment to income. This is calculated the loan eligibility of the customer. It is generally expressed as a percentage. This percentage denotes the portion of the customer's monthly installment on the housing loan taken. And the third one is FOIR, is fixed obligation to income ratio. It is a popular parameter that banks uses to calculate the loan eligibility of the applicant. It is also referred to as debt to income ratio. So fixed obligation to income ratio is otherwise called debt to income ratio. Most HFIs consider applicant's profile before they judge his capacity. The applicants are judged on the basis of age, qualification, number of dependents, employment details, employer credentials, work experience, previous track record of repayment of any loans that he has availed of, occupation, the industry to which the applicant's business relates to. So you have to go through all these factors before approving a loans to an applicant. Some HFIs insist the guarantees from other individuals. So due to due repayment of applicant's loan, in such case the applicants have to arrange for the personal guarantee before the disbursement of the loan takes place. This is the another situation. So in addition to all that type of things, you have to produce some type of personal guarantees to get the loan. In such cases, the applicant has to arrange personal guarantee before the disbursement of the loan take place. Most of the HFIs have a team of civil engineers to visit the site to get the technical support on the quality of construction and compliance with the local law before they disburse the loan. There will be a verification part from the that particular HFIs. Most HFIs have a panel of lawyers who go through the applicant's property documents to ensure that the documents are clear and cannot misrepresented. So first there will be a verification from the part of engineers and verifying the legal things from the part of the lawyers of that particular HFIs. The disbursement of loan take place as per the progress of construction of property unless it is ready property, in which case the disbursement of loan will take place on one single check. PEMI are the simple interest rate on loan amount disbursed to the applicant in case of part disbursement is payable by the applicant on the disbursement. PEMI means pre-EMI interest. If you have availed only a part of the loan, you will be required to pay as only the interest on the amount disbursed till the full loan is availed. This interest is called pre-EMI interest and is payable monthly till the final installment is made, after which the EMI would commence. So this is the provision of a pre-EMI situation or a PREMI situation. So PREMI, that is pre-EMI interest situation, the up to the disbursement of final loan amount that you have to calculate the PREMI. Up to the disbursement of final loan amount, there will be a calculation of a PREMI. So after disbursement, that will be they will paying that amount based on the actual EMIs. The disbursement in most cases favors the builder or the seller or the society or the development authority, as the case may be. An applicant can repay the loan either through deduction against salary, that is an option. Post-dated check is another option. Standard instruction or by cash or demand draft. These are the options that you can repay the loan amount. The principal is amortized either an annual reducing or monthly reducing basis, as the case may be. So in cases of principal, that is amortization of the principal amount is on annual reducing or monthly reducing, that is depends on the situation. The charges applicable to housing finance, I'll tell you some of the charges that will be applicable to housing finance. And pre-disbursement charges includes processing fee or processing charges. That is the first type of charges that will be there. This is the charges that is levied by most of the housing to cover the cost that they incur in the processing of loan application. This is the fee incurred for processing of the loan application. This has to be paid at the time of submission of the application form. The processing fee has to be submitted along with the application form. Most of the HFIs refund this fee if the loan amount is rejected. That also, if the loan is rejected, loan application is rejected, so automatically this amount will be refunded to the concerned parties. It is normally charged as a percentage of loan amount sanctioned. That is one option. Or it may be charged as a flat fees based on loan amount. So two options are there. Processing fee payment is either on the basis of that a particular percentage of that loan amount or a fixed amount, or some bank there will be some exemption for the processing fees. And the second one is the administrative charges. This charges is based on the percentage of loan amount sanctioned. So this is based on the percentage of loan amount is sanctioned. It is collected by the HFI for the maintenance of customers' records, issuing interest certificate, legal charges, technical charges, etc. So these are all the charges related through the tenure of a loan period. For that they are charging this administrative fees. It is to be paid after acceptance of offer letter by HFI. So this is paid after getting the acceptance of letter from HFI. Then the third one is the rate of interest. It is a charge on the principal on either annual reducing method or monthly reducing method. the interest rate will be either fixed interest rate or a floating interest rate. So the applicant can opt any type of rate of interest for his housing loan. And the fourth one is the legal charges. Some HFIs levy legal charges that they incur on getting property document vetted by their panel of lawyers. So verification of a panel of lawyers, there will be some charges, and we are paying some amount as legal charges. Then the fifth one is the technical charges, and this charge is levied by some of the HFIs to meet their expenses on technical site visit to the property. Stamp duty and registration charges are the next type of charges, and here there will be some amount that you are paying for stamp duty or registration for the levied by the state where the property has to be purchased. Then the seventh charge is the personal guarantee form charge. So personal guarantee form charge, these charges levied by HFIs whose demand for guarantee. We already discussed that there are some cases they will ask for the guarantor. In such case there will be some charges for a personal guarantee charges, and since that there will be some type of personal guarantees are there, and some other cases there will be some have to produce some check and all as a guarantee for the loan amount. So these are all the different type of pre-disbursement charges for a housing finance. Let us see what are the different types of post disbursement charges for housing finance. The first one is the check bounce charges. In case the check through which the applicant is making payment to HFI get dishonored, then some minimum charges are levied by the bank. So there will be some sort of a default in submitting the check or getting the amount from the concerned party's account. There will be some sort of amount that they are charging, and this is called check bounce charge, and these charges are to be recovered by from the applicant's account. Then the next type of post disbursement charge is delayed payment charges. In cases of a delay of installment beyond the due date, HFI charges these charges to the applicant for in that particular situation. So there will be a delay in payment installment. So for that, HFI charging some amount that is called delayed payment installment charges. And the third one in post disbursement charges is the additional charges. These are levied as a percentage on the delayed payment charge of most of the HFIs. These charges are levied if an applicant failed to pay the dues within the stipulated time after delay has taken place. So this is the charge are levied if an applicant failed to pay the dues within the stipulated time after the delay has taken place. In such cases, there will be additional charges has to be levied. And the next one, fourth one, is the incidental charges. This is payable in case of HFIs sends a representative from their organization to collect their outstanding dues. If there will be some situation, there is a dues happen. If some representatives are coming to the applicant's house and collecting the dues, in such cases there will be an incidental charges. It is normally charged at flat rate per visit. So there will be charges for each visit, and these charges are levied by most of the housing finance during the time of default from the part of that applicants. Then the next one is the fifth one is the prepayment charges. It is a penalty charged by the SFIs from when the applicant makes their either a part prepayment or full payment of a loan. This charge is levied on the amount prepaid by the applicant and not on the equated monthly installment. It is not based on your EMIs. It is based on the amount prepaid by the applicant that he pays. This charge is levied on the amount prepaid and not on the entire outstanding principal. So that is the prepayment charges. And the last one is the PDC swapping charges, that is post dated check swapping charges are the sixth one, that is called PDC swapping charges. And PDC swapping charges, in case an applicant wishes to swap to PDCs given to him to HFI for EMI repayment, some HFIs charges a flat fee for the same. So that fee is called PDC swapping charges or post dated check swapping charges. So these are all the post disbursement charge situation. These are the two important types of charges in cases of a housing finance situation. Let us see what are the types of documents needed for a housing finance, and regarding the time of submitting the application, there will be some documents regarding the income of the applicant. It includes the salary slip of last 3 months, appointment letter, salary certificate, relationship agreement, etc. are coming under the part of income documents. And the second one is proof of employment, is regarding the identity card issued by the employer, visiting card, etc. are as a proof of employment for getting housing finance. Then the third category is proof of age. It includes passport, voter's ID, PAN card, ration card, employee's identity card, school leaving certificate, etc. are used as a proof of age. Then the proof of resident, it includes certain documents like passport, ration card, PAN card, rent agreement, bank passbook, etc. are the proof of resident. And proof of name change, if there is some name change is happened, a copy of official gazette for this particular name change situation, a copy of a newspaper or advertising publishing the name change, and in some case, if the change is after the marriage, there will be marriage certificate that can produce as a proof of name change. Then proof of investment, bank statement of last 6 months for all operating and salary account, bank statement of last 6 months of all current accounts if self-employed, any other photocopies of investment held if required by HFI. So these are the proof of investment that you have to produce at the time of housing finance. The types of housing finance are, the first one is home loans. So a home loan is a loan taken from housing finance institutions to buy or modify the property, and it includes property under construction, property ready for occupation, resale property, and self construction or own construction. So these are the 4 types of situations in which you will get a home loans. Then home extension loan. A home extension loan is a finance taken from HFI to extend the built up area of an existing property. And the third one is the land loan. A land loan is a loan taken from HFI to purchase the plot of land from either a development authority or a society or a developer. So this is the nature of a land loan. And another one is home equity loan, and home equity loan is especially designed to meet the financial needs of a person who already owns a house. The loan amount is given against the existing property, and as a customer the person can utilize this fund to meet his requirement. And some of the agencies that they are providing financial assistance, housing finance agencies, and the first one is HUDCO. HUDCO was set up in 25th April 1970, that is Housing and Urban Development Corporation, set up on 25th April 1970 for providing financial assistance in housing finance area. And the second one is National Housing Bank, or NSB, is established in 1998 under the NSB Act 1988, under the NSB Act 1987, and it is a principal agency to promote housing finance institutions at both local and regional levels, and financial and other support to that areas. So NSB is the another institution. It is fully owned subsidiary of RBI, marked the beginning of the emergency of housing finance as a fund based service in country. And cooperative housing finance. So with the progress of 5-year plans, the cooperative housing movement is receiving support as a strong institutional setup has been evaluated it in India. There are few states where cooperative acts rules were enacted, and a lot of cooperative financial institution, they are providing financial assistance to the house construction and development. Then central and state housing boards. So there are housing boards for each state, so they are playing a vital role in the development of a housing sector. Housing boards are responsible for implementation of integrated housing schemes for the construction of houses, and these central and state housing boards also playing an important role for providing housing financial assistance to the concerned parties. And another area is commercial banks and non-banking financial companies. Commercial banks and NBFCs are playing an important role in housing finance, and some of the commercial banks that they are in the housing finance sector, that is called that includes Can Bank Home Finance, that is called by Canara Bank. Then Central Bank of India, Cen Bank Home Finance, ICICI Home Finance by ICICI Bank, Ind Bank Home Finance by Indian Bank, PNB Home Finance by Punjab National Bank, Repco Home Finance by Repco Bank. These are some of the banks, home financing sector of different banks. Let us see some of the advantages of housing finance. Housing finance create employment opportunities that will help development of our society. Then rural housing develop not only in rural areas but prevents migration of laborers to urban areas. Housing finance helps in creation of more houses. That is our next advantage. And expansion of rebuilding of a depleted house or remodeling of the existing house is also possible with the help of housing finance. There are some limitations of housing finance, and for government employees there will be a situation, those who are filing tax returns, government or private sector employees, those who are filing the tax return, there will be a situation of loss of HRA as an important components of salary that is going to happen. It's a long-term commitment. Normally it's a long-term commitment. Most of the cases you have to repay the same principal amount as interest in case of that is housing loans, and volatile interest rate movement. So there will be a fluctuation in the interest rate movement. So there will be ups and downs in the interest rate movement. It is actually a random movement. You cannot predict the changes. That is also one of the limitations. And Opportunity cost is another important thing that is affecting the housing finance situation. Then let us see some of the rules regarding RBI for housing finance. Reserve Bank of India has placed a draft of changes proposed to the extent of regulatory framework applicable to housing finance companies. That is recent changes that is taken place by Reserve Bank of India. The central government had, with effect from 9th August 2019, transferred regulatory powers of housing finance companies from National Housing Bank to RBI. That is a change that has taken after 9th August 2019. It has transferred from National Housing Banks to Reserve Bank of India. It is further stated that RBI will review the extent of regulatory framework applicable to HFCs and issue the same in due course. Until such time, HFC were required to comply with the directions and instruction issued by NHB, National Housing Board. From the above order to increase the efficiency of HFCs, RBI has now placed a draft to the changes proposed in regulations applicable to HFCs for the public companies. They are accepting some proposals or regulations accepted from HFCs till 15th July 2020. Up to last 15th July 2020, they are accepted proposal for changing that housing finance sector, and the changes address the following areas, that is defining the principal business and qualifying the asset for HFCs, that is one thing, and define the phrase providing finance for housing or a housing finance, that is the second one. Classifying HFC as a systematically important, that is asset size of 500 crore and above, that will be there in the systematically important, and non-systematically important, that is asset size is less than 500 crores. So two classifications are there. HFCs, if it is systematically important, if the asset size is 500 crore or more. Non-systematically important if the asset size is less than 500 crores. Directions on liquidity, risk framework, and LCR, securitization, etc. are also taken place during this time for non-banking finance companies, and it made applicable to housing finance companies also. So these are all the topics regarding the housing finance situation. So here in this video we have discussed what is housing finance and what are the types of housing financing situations and what are the charges for housing finance, and up to the last part we have mentioned about the changes that RBI has planned for the housing finance sector after 2020. And thank you all for watching this video, and see you in the next video. Have a nice time. Thank you all, and see you.